You picked up your phone this morning before you even got out of bed. You probably don't remember doing it. Your hand just moved. And if someone asked you why, you'd say something like boredom, habit, just checking the time. But those answers don't hold up. Because the average person unlocks their phone 96 times a day, once every 10 minutes during waking hours, and most of those checks turn up absolutely nothing new. No message, no emergency, nothing. So why does your hand keep reaching? The real answer isn't laziness, it isn't weakness, and it definitely isn't something wrong with you. The real answer is far stranger, and it starts not with a smartphone, but with a dead animal rotting on the edge of a savanna 2 million years ago. Your brain is not a modern machine. It is an ancient survival system that has been running the same core software for hundreds of thousands of years. The hardware got an upgrade, bigger prefrontal cortex, better language, abstract thought. But the base operating system underneath? Unchanged. And that system was built in a world where missing information could kill you. Picture your ancestors standing at the edge of the forest. There is a rustle in the grass to the left. Maybe it's the wind. Maybe it's a predator. Your ancestor cannot afford to assume it's nothing. The brain that survived was the brain that stayed alert, that kept scanning, that never stopped checking the environment for new information. The brain that said it's probably fine got eaten. Neuroscientist Kent Berridge at the University of Michigan spent decades studying what he calls the wanting system, a neural circuit running on dopamine that compels you to seek, to scan, to reach. And here is what he found that almost nobody talks about. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical. It is the anticipation chemical. It fires not when you get a reward, but in the moment just before. The moment of possibility. Your phone is a dopamine machine because it is a possibility machine. Every time you pick it up, there is a chance. A chance of a message, a like, a piece of news, something funny, something shocking, something that matters. Your ancient brain cannot distinguish between maybe there's a predator in that grass and maybe someone replied to my comment. Both are unknown. Both trigger the same system. Both make your hand move before your conscious mind has any say. This is not metaphor. This is measurable biology. In 2018, researchers at the University of Chicago, led by Wilhelm Hoffmann, found that social media and phone checking ranked as the desire most difficult for people to resist. Harder than alcohol, harder than cigarettes, harder than sleep. Not because phones are more addictive in a chemical sense, but because they never turn off. A cigarette runs out, a bottle empties, but your phone always has one more thing to offer. One more maybe. And here is the twist your brain never saw coming. The reward is unpredictable. Sometimes you pick it up and there's something good. Sometimes nothing. Sometimes something anxiety-inducing. And that randomness, that is the key. B.F. Skinner figured this out in the 1950s with pigeons. He put them in boxes and gave them a button to press. When the button gave food every single time, the pigeons pressed it calmly, then stopped when they were full. But when the button gave food only sometimes, randomly, unpredictably, the pigeons pressed it obsessively, frantically. They couldn't stop. Variable reward. The most powerful behavioral reinforcement ever discovered. And your phone delivers it hundreds of times a day. Every app you use is built on this principle. Your feed is designed to be unpredictable. You scroll past 5 boring posts and then something that makes your chest tighten, or something that makes you laugh out loud, or something about a person you used to know. You had no idea that was coming, and because you didn't know, your brain learned to keep scrolling, keep checking, keep reaching. Tristan Harris, a former design ethicist at Google who spent years studying how technology hijacks attention, called this the slot machine in your pocket. He wasn't being dramatic. The mechanics are identical. The variable ratio reinforcement schedule, the same schedule used in slot machines, is baked into the architecture of every major social platform. Not by accident, by design. But don't let that make you feel manipulated and helpless, because the story goes even deeper. And in a strange way, it makes you more human, not less. Your ancestors didn't just scan for threats. They scanned for social information. Who's in the group? Who's fighting? Who mated with whom? Who got more food? Who is building alliances? Who is being excluded? Anthropologist Robin Dunbar, who proposed the famous Dunbar's number, the roughly 150 people a human brain can maintain stable social relationships with, argued that the primary reason the human brain expanded was not to solve physics problems. It was to track the social world, to keep up with what was happening in the group. Because falling behind socially didn't just mean embarrassment, it meant exile. And exile, for most of human history, meant death. Your phone is not replacing that drive. It is feeding it. When you check your messages, you are checking on the group. When you scroll the feed, you are scanning the tribe for status signals, relationship changes, emotional shifts. The fact that the group now has 2 billion members and most of them are strangers does not matter to the ancient circuitry. The behavior pattern is identical. There is a cruel irony here. The behavior that kept your ancestors alive, the constant vigilance, the need to know, the compulsion to scan the environment, is now the behavior keeping you from sleeping, from focusing, from being present in your own life. The same drive that helped humans build civilizations is making it harder to sit quietly for 5 minutes without reaching for a screen. David Greenfield, a psychiatrist at the University of Connecticut and founder of the Center for Internet and Technology Addiction, put it this way: the brain was never designed to handle this volume of stimulation. You are running an ancient system in a world it was not built for. The mismatch is not a character flaw. It is an engineering problem. And here is what makes this genuinely hard. The checking behavior is not always rewarded, but it is not always unrewarded either. So your brain can never fully conclude that it's not worth it. Every failed check is just evidence that the next one might pay off. Your ancient survival system does not do sunk cost reasoning. It does pattern matching. And the pattern says, sometimes the grass rustles and nothing is there. But sometimes a lion comes out. So you never stop checking the grass. The researchers who study this most closely are not pessimistic. They point to something important. Awareness changes the loop. When you understand what is happening in the circuitry, when you can name the anticipation spike, the dopamine hit of possibility, the variable reward, you regain a margin of control. Not total control, but enough to pause. Enough to ask, am I picking this up because I need something, or because the ancient part of my brain scanned the environment and found a button to press? That question is the gap between you and the pigeon. The pigeon cannot ask why it is pressing the button. You can. And that difference, that small, strange ability to observe your own wanting, is also ancient. It is the same capacity that let your ancestors plan a hunt, imagine a future, build a culture, and eventually create the very device now sitting in your hand. So tonight, when you reach for your phone without thinking, and you will, notice the moment just before your hand moves. That flicker of maybe, that pull toward the unknown. That is 2 million years of evolution doing exactly what it was built to do. The question is whether you want to let it run unquestioned, or whether you want to be the one who decides what the grass actually needs checking.